everyone. Welcome to Loud and Proud Orlando. It's Monday, September 1st, 6:37 p.m. Thank you for being live. We want to congratulate, obviously, the Seattle Sounders for their well-deserved trophy, the Leagues Cup Champion 2025. And today I'm here with John, and we'll be discussing today the Galaxy 2-1 Orlando defeat. Leagues Cup, was it worth it? Ramiro Enriquez transfer out. OCB 1-0 against Crown Legacy. And we're going to be also discussing the remaining MLS games preview for the Lions. So stick around and stay tuned because we have a pretty packed show today. I do want to, hold on. I don't know what happened here. Um, I do want to start with, clearly, I mean, those guys from down south, they were completely exposed. Um, that higher than thou, persona, it just doesn't represent what the league's all about. And I have a feeling that not only the MLS, but just soccer in America, it's about community, about fans chanting in unison about their clubs, like in Seattle, who've earned pretty much every trophy they've gotten through sweat and soul and heart, not just star power. um Miami's players, just draped in the pink kits, and they're acting like they're gracing us with their presence, which I talked about on the last spot. But to me, that's not MLS. They're to me a sideshow, a flashy distraction that forgets, the heart of what this league beats in places like you've seen it in Lumen Field, over 70,000 people in attendance. You see it also in Orlando, with Orlando City, with teams like Columbus, Cincinnati, New England. So to the fans of Seattle, congratulations. And shame on the Miami's traveling circus. Um, uh, Arrogance. And not only that, but also their fans started picking fights outside the stadium, which was despicable. There's videos now about that. Cops were called, but they were exposed. They show the world, you know, um, what's up in South Florida, right? And Seattle gave the vibe of the growth in soccer in America with players like Roth Rock and players like that come from Tacoma Defiance, like Obed Vargas and things like that. So um, that's the model I think it should be replicated for other clubs. A core since 2022, the Sounders, just like a core that we have here in Orlando with Oscar Pereja for over several years, and we're not sweating it. Neither we I think as a club, and neither they are. But down south, if Boosie, because that's how they call it, call him Boosie, Luchito, and Leito leave, their last star was Agudelo. So we'll discuss all of that today. We're gonna dive in also what happened to Orlando City against LA Galaxy and what's up with the Lions coming up. Six massive games coming up in the league and the MLS. But I'm here with John. John, how are you, my friend? How you feel after this massive Labor Day long weekend?
Good man. It wasn't a long weekend for me. No, I labor on Labor Day every year. Just because the way my work works out, it's a very busy time of year for us. So I don't get it off. So I rush home for work to come join you all in the pod. I hope everybody is having a nice Labor Day and got to get some relaxation, some R&R. Yesterday, yeah, I mean it was what I was worried it was gonna be. And I said that on the pod was how do you motivate the boys after what happened on Wednesday to then go back to, California again, having just been there to play Toluca literally in the same stadium. How do you get them up for that game and, make sure that they understand the importance of the game. And I feel like honestly the boys were not up for it, and they didn't look up for it, and we looked lackluster and slow and tired, and like we didn't want to be there. So that was my fear of what was going to happen. And we allowed a team like LA Galaxy that are terrible this year to qualify for Champions Cup. There was 4 teams and 3 spots, and we didn't get one, and that is a failure, honestly. As much as I want to not blame, the situation, and I don't want to care about Leagues Cup, at the end of the day, that was a valuable prize, and we didn't get it, and we lost it to a team that we shouldn't be losing to. So very disappointing, kind of just the end of a very disappointing week, really. And then on top of that, we hear about Ramiro Enrique leaving. That's not good. I think obviously we have a very good team, Luis. I think now though, it's MLS Cup or bust. We don't have anything else. We've tried in Open Cup and failed. We've tried in Leagues Cup and failed. All that we've got left for this team, which is a team that can win something this year, is MLS Cup. So we got to refocus and go all in for that now, because that's all we got left. We're not going to get Supporter Shield. I think that's realistic.
Yeah, we'll discuss that in a little bit. LA Galaxy secured a 2-1 victory over Orlando City in Leagues Cup, third place match at Dignity Health Sports Park. And they clinched a berth on 2026 CONCACAF Champions Cup. Marco Royce opened the scoring for Galaxy in the 9th minute. And then also then Martin Ojeda, which already tied Facu Torres on goals almost, and assisted with Luis Muriel. But then obviously Joseph Painsil as well sealed the win for LA. Now I agree with you. It is devastating going through what you've been through against the Flamingos, and then losing against LA. Not to say that, and I think we do have to talk about it, because I feel like the center back duo of Brecalo and Jansen, I mean, they were surely missed, especially in the first goal for Royce. The absence of these defensive um, players forced Oscar to rely on Cal Smith, and I felt like in the beginning it was Marin and Cal Smith, and Marin didn't start it that hot. That's how the Royce goal happened on the first one. But then after that, I felt like Marin evolved nicely. Maybe not. Maybe that will be a controversial call for me, but I feel like he evolved. But the damage was already done. And then you have to understand, Marin and Atuesta also hit the post. So again, is the finishing, the failure to convert the chances. In the game against the Flamingos, it was Ivan Angulo. In this case, was Atuesta, pretty much with an open goal, and then Marin as well. And then after that, Painsil, you give him space. Um, After a bad turnover, and you give him that much space, there's nothing Alessi could do at that point. So
Yeah. I
um,
mean, obviously, like tired legs and tired minds, like frustrated mentally wise. We were just, I think, shot from what had happened on Wednesday. And, losing Jansen, as much as it's like, hey, that's awesome that he stood up for himself, but not so awesome in the sense that we don't have our captain and our number one center back for this important game. So that was bad. And like we said with Marin, man, it was, I don't want to give up on the guy. I'm not going to do that. I just think that it started really badly. And this was that first goal. Why you wait? Like I said to you, his positioning is horrible. And then what did you see in that first goal? Like he's way out of position trying
yeah,
to step
he's
up
green. He's
and take
green.
the ball. And just little things like that. It's like, okay, but we brought you in because Santos, at least Santos, he was getting cooked 1v1, but positioning was fine. So he needs to figure it out because why are we going to have another guy to bring in if we're not going to be able to rotate? Like I commend Oscar for using him. Like often Oscar takes a long time before he uses the guy, but now it's backfired on him because Marin has not been good so far. Honestly, like he had some moments in this game where he got up the field on the ball and can show what he can do in the attack, but
Yeah, but don't you feel?
defensively it was bad again. It didn't help that Kyle Smith was next to him and not one of
Yeah,
our
but
other
don't you
center
feel
backs.
like, for the type of players that we sign, you
Yeah,
know, we don't we haven't signed a player that would make an immediate impact. Like you would think he would, but I felt like you've again kind of gotten a player on the cheap end.
yeah,
Possibly somebody that wants to prove himself in the league. And you know the MLS is a tough league to play. A lot of people don't understand. They downplay it, but it's hard. The traveling,
yeah.
the pitches. Some of them are turf. I believe this one was also turf. So
He could
for a
definitely
player,
get up to speed,
right?
but he just
So,
hasn't started there, which is a
but don't you
shame
feel
because we hoped
he?
he
I
would.
mean, I know that you pretty much
Yeah,
are set that he that he's terrible right now, but don't you feel he kind of, as the game progressed, he got
yeah.
a little better?
I think so. And I think that he shows quality on the ball and he's good in the attack and he has moments, but like I said, for me a lot of the issues we have in that position is defensive issues. Like Brecalo is the only one when he's playing left back, we don't get killed by the right winger of the opposition. Everybody else when we play on that side, they go past them. So I think as much as I like the attacking, abilities that Marin can have and he looks calm on the ball, really what we need is a solid left back. And often when Oscar plays, you end up with a three back that Brecalo is doing. So I don't are we going to have our left back go up the field too, as well as Alex Freeman? Because that's another thing I want to talk about, man. Alex Freeman, like you've done very well, but I think it's getting a little bit excessive with the amount of time he is spending in attacking positions, dude. Like he all the way up the field all the time, which is great. But then there's not a lot of substance coming off that. And if you notice in the last few games, he has not been getting back fast enough. And so often you're getting Schlegel having to cover him a lot on that side, and even
Schlegel was a
Cesar and
monster.
someone else. Yeah, and Schlegel's been doing a great job at
He
it,
was a
but
beast.
Alex needs to also get back. Like you're one of the most athletic guys out there. You go up the field, great, but always get back into position. As soon as you lose the ball, and that's been happening, he's been getting up the field, losing the ball in the attack, and then not recovering fast enough. I don't know if he's tired or what it is, but that's not acceptable in my eyes. So I think there's some issues on our defense. We know that. Cesar and Atuesta did not play well this game. I would question a little bit Oscar not rotating some of the guys that we would have felt comfortable with in this game. Like, why didn't we start Jeron Gervais? I think he could have started this game and been fine. Dagger Down's been very good in the midfield as well. You could have gone with those two to start with a bit more energy. I feel like our team was already tired and Oscar went for the first 11 because it's a big game, but they're also a really tired 11. And then he didn't use any subs for a long time. So we ended up with just there was no energy. And I think like as soon as the first half was over, why didn't he bring in subs at the beginning of the second half to insert some energy into the game? Because there wasn't anything happening from our attacking players that were our best attacking players because they all look tired. Like for example, Muriel, like why is he playing all the way that late? He didn't do anything in the first half. You've got Duncan McGuire there who can play. You've got other attacking
Yeah, but
options. Even Spicer could play there. Bring on other players earlier to try and do something because clearly what we had on the field was not they weren't producing and they were too tired to produce. So I was like, fresh legs are better than, basically really tired legs at this point.
yeah, look, I feel also that some of our substitutes didn't have the impact, and again, I don't want to poke the bear. I mean, I think Duncan McGuire, he just got back. He came in a
Yeah.
minute
I mean,
60.
maybe not him. Yeah.
I mean, he made he came in a minute 66. Dagger Dan, for example, he came in at 80 and the 82nd minute, and I mean there was no shots. I mean
Uh,
neither one of those players I'm
Dagger and
mentioning.
Gervais didn't come on at all.
Yeah, yeah, but there were no shots on goal. I believe so. I just feel Oscar try to drag and try to die with this group of players. But like you said, at what point do you feel like there's the proper time to make those substitutions? But
Yeah,
we've
it's
seen it
earlier
before.
than he did. I would say is
Yeah,
what I'm
like
saying.
we've seen it before in other scenarios too, that the bench has not come with a lot of fire in
Mm.
their eyes to try to
But this is
turn the
LA
tide.
Galaxy this year. You know what I mean? Like their defense
Right,
is not that good,
right.
really.
Well, and today, I mean, Orlando again. You had the Muriel. We had a Muriel. No, it's not a Muriel. It was you have a Freeman cut through the wing, and then he like took on two defenders. He literally could have shot the ball, then he passed it back, and then he ruined the whole momentum at that point. That could have been a chance or a goal. Then you had um, two shots that hit the post, one with an open goal. And those would have definitely made a hell of a difference in this particular game. So again, Joseph Paintsel. At times he was very, very contained, but in that last goal, I mean, there was really nothing you could do at that point. I mean, he was going to score no matter what.
I feel like that was Cesar's fault though. Like
Yeah, 100%.
he should, and
Yeah,
that's where I mean, like,
yeah,
why I feel like Giron in those situations
yeah.
when Cesar's tired and he's getting sloppy like that, that's when I want to get those guys out. And I also feel like we gotta we gotta blame the fact, in my opinion, that we don't have backup center backs. Like we don't. We have Schlegel and we have Jansen. Bracalo is being used as a left back like all season. He's the number one left back, so you can't really even count him in the center back pool right now because if you're trying to rotate, he's been rotated, or in this sense, he was out anyway. So then when you go outside of that, it's Kyle Smith, who's not a real right back. I mean, not a real center back, but does an okay job. Thomas Williams, who is literally never getting a chance, apparently, ever. So we don't have any backup center backs. And then this situation happens where not only you've got Rodrigo, who's killing it, by the way, but how tired must he be at this point? Jansen is out. And then you look, your center back, options are Schlegel and Kyle Smith. So I blame the fact in some ways that I don't believe the roster was ever built with enough quality center back. Center back is such an important position, and we have two that we use regularly. Another one, Brecalo, that we would use, but then you're not going to have a left back. We need four, or at least three good quality center backs, and we be able to rotate them. We haven't had that in the last, I think, 2 or 3 seasons. Every year I talk about it being an issue. We don't get any other
Well,
center backs
wasn't
in. So and look at this game. Like we
well,
didn't have anybody, in my opinion, people could say it's not really Kyle's fault, but I think he's not a center back personally, and I also think we don't have any physical like replacements. In some
right,
ways, we have small center backs.
right, but I mean, wasn't the issue before just not having a left back?
Yeah, but then we brought in,
And the club addressed the issue,
we
right?
brought in
So
Marin, who's he's a
right,
backup left back.
right,
Right?
right.
He's not going to
So
be first team left back. So you're not releasing Brecalo from that position and his duties there this season. He's still going to have to do that. But I just think we don't have good center back depth, and we haven't ever really had good center back depth. If you look at all the games, Schlegel and Jansen never, like if one of those gets seriously injured, what are we gonna do? And they play like every single game because Oscar doesn't trust anyone else to play there, and we don't have anybody else in the squad who plays that position. And in this game, I think it really hurt us because it's a big game, and we didn't have anybody put there apart from Kyle Smith.
right, but in the moment, I felt like, I mean, the immediate need was a left back. I mean, and no one knew that a center back, was needed based on having Schlegel, Brekalo, and Jansen, and then you adding two kids possibly from OCB. Now, I think the coach decision of, I mean, I don't think we lost this game because of a center back. If you ask me, I just felt
No, but I think it's part of an issue that we have, in my opinion.
right, but it was an issue that it just came out today. It didn't come out in previous episodes. I feel like.
I've been saying this is an issue for a good while. Personally, I think so. But
Well, I mean, Oscar doesn't feel the trust on OCB
right,
clearly,
that's what I mean. He
especially
won't
on the
trust.
center back.
Like Williams is in the squad, but he doesn't
Right.
trust to put him in.
Now, I think maybe the thought process, I can make the assumption the thought process was, we're bringing in Marin. He's going to adapt pretty quick. And then we switch Brekalo back into the center back position. And I think that's probably what they thought.
I would
But
hope.
but I
Yeah,
just think that didn't pan out for them because of the situations of the suspensions, especially
but
for this
we
game.
don't. I would keep Schlegel and Jansen and Brecalo at left back. We didn't. We don't really need. We didn't really need a left back, starting left back. We needed like backup player who could play left back and center back. Marin supposedly can play center back. I don't. We'll see how that goes. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah,
I'm
for
I'm
sure.
not losing faith, but it's not started well. Let's be honest.
All right, let's read some comments here. Let's says here. Oh man, there's a lot. Chacha says, "I'd rather be a crybaby than classes like Miami." Daniel says, "Yesterday was an emotional roller coaster. Hats off to Seattle fans for fucking up that stadium. I was amazed." Av says, "What's up, OC fam? Happy Labor Day. Happy Labor Day." Irving, I love that hat. Seattle, Orlando. Seattle was so much fun yesterday. Poor Pessy says, Shinta. Alex Yu. This is, guys were obviously tired and playing under the early afternoon sun in California. Very physically demanding. Yeah, but I mean, like John said, it was an opportunity to wash their face, and just kind of wash all that negativity from the Inter game off, and just give the fans like a win that, I mean, I know that probably, fans won, and it's not the same as going to a final, but at least it's Champions Cup berth, right? So I know that's why John's so frustrated about this game, and I totally agree with him. Obviously, Oscar is a well-rounded coach with success in MLS, but is his greatest weakness low management squad rotation? Yeah, you could say
I
that,
think
but
so.
also, I just, it's just, there's, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I feel like that's the way he thinks, But in this particular league, I think we
Yeah.
gotta be a little bit more, like John
I
was
think
saying.
if Oscar had a whole second 11 of guys that he liked, I think he would rotate all the
Yeah,
time. It's just that we don't have that in MLS.
yeah. As we had zero midfield presence, Araujo looked like he didn't want to be there. Well, it may be his last year with the Lions.
Yeah, he's
He,
still not signed a contract. I think he literally could be.
yeah,
I think as of today, it would have been 6 months now, so he will be out of contract. So, per international rules, teams can approach him to sign a
yeah, yeah,
contract.
yep. They could approach him now. Same with Galeze. Yeah, and no life
Yeah,
in the stadium. I could feel
anybody.
the vibe through the TV, says Keith Alexander. Super happy Ramiro got it back, but how devastating is this timing? Makes me think there's drama involved. I'll go ahead and we'll talk in just a second about that real quick, because yes, there's a lot of questions about that. I did ask Oscar, Alex, you, Orlando's, and it's funny because everybody was talking really cool questions about how do you feel, Oscar, and I'm like, it was funny because of the post presser. Just to give you guys a low that I was doing my wash. So I was going up the stairs holding my laundry with all my dirty clothes, and then my phone was on top. So I sounded like I'm freaking out of breath. It's because I just ran up the stairs to because they I thought they were not gonna give me a question, because usually out west they give the West people the questions first.
It did seem a little odd the way they were running that press conference.
Yeah, it's odd. Yeah, we'll discuss in just a second. Orlando is growing as a team. They earn valuable experience for playing in playoff format. Hopefully, will translate to to success during the playoffs. Thank you so much. I agree, but we have a tendency to play too safely in big games, and it costs us. Completely agree. Things look amazing coming into the second half, ultimately leading to Ojeda's goal. Then poof, roster freeze date next week. Do y'all think we finally get the Justin Ellis deal done? Hopefully. Is Marco gone on international duty? Marco Pasalic, yes, he's gone on international duty. He's been called up by Croatia. Alex
Nah,
Yu says Galaxy had only one shot during the first half. Yep, they're not that great, just like John said. I don't get the Kyle Smith hype, says Salty H2O. It's because he's like the Drake song. Started from the bottom, now he's here. He came from Louisville City. He's been a really
he's
the
just a
fans.
long-serving veteran of the club,
Yeah,
you know.
of the
So
club. He's gonna be definitely one of our forever Lion. Like you know,
over
all
200
all
appearances, so it's a
hundred
big deal.
percent. Yeah. I hope we get younger players like Mohamed on Mercado. I think Shaq Mohamed will be a great option in the attack if things are not panning out in this 6 games. I think Kyle is the last of the previous generation. Love him, but the sun is setting on his role as a player here. I thought we did a good job of breaking up their passing power. Didn't see the possession percentage, but it felt like we covered it well. Patience equal Marin has Champions League experience. They brought him for a reason. Right. I agree with you. And that's probably what they thought. And just like every other player, the adaptation to MLS for some is like Pasalic, like a breeze, scoring all these golazos and doing all these crazy plays. But for some other players, like we've seen even Ojeda, started a little slow. No one knew our captain and starting center back was going to get senseless red before our last shot in the CC spot. The jersey training promo was savage as fuck. I think Orlando should do this. I thought that was an
I like
amazing.
that. Yeah,
That was awesome. That is something that
they did that off the back of the Schmetzer saying we've got Paul Rothrock. You gotta love that.
and Rothrock played in a massive game. Our defensive midfielders need to step up. Look at Seattle. There you go. You're completely right, man. I think Roldan was on point as well. Anyway, so
Yeah,
um,
I think. See, we'll talk about that in a minute. Anything else on the LA Galaxy game? I mean, obviously,
not really. I mean, it's just
I think Leagues Cup in general. Do we want to move to talking about that and
yeah,
our
for sure. We can
how
we can.
does everybody feel? Let us know in the chat how you feel about Leagues Cup. I think Luis, it was kind of like what we feared might happen, and that we spend a lot of energy on Leagues Cup, and you know, if we'd have beaten LA and we'd have come out of it with a Champions Cup spot, I don't think we'd really be having the conversation of like, was it worth it? But we didn't even get that. So in some ways, it's kind of like what we feared was, we put a lot of effort into it. The club, after winning that, or you didn't even win that first game, after winning on penalties in the first game, they put a lot of effort into winning the next 2 games. A big trip out to play Toluca. We sacrificed, the Nashville game completely to try and beat Miami. So it was a lot put in, and we could have got through. I think if the Miami game had gone another way, we would have been in the final. We're playing Seattle. I don't know if we would have beaten Seattle in their house. Probably not, is what I would be off the top of my head. But just in general, Luis, do you feel like it was worth it putting all this effort into Leagues Cup, or would you? And I don't know the answer to this. I'm just spitballing. Or would you maybe have liked to say, you know, should have put our eggs in the MLS games and focused on that more than this?
Well, I mean, we are not. I mean, we don't. I mean, we don't have a dragon radar, or we don't. We're not fortune teller Baba, and have a crystal ball to know. Hey, this tournament we're gonna suck. This other tournament, this is gonna happen. I think if we would have known for sure what would have happened, we would have, then a more of like a thoughtful decision. But at this point, you have to play, and I think what really sent us off the sunset in the Leagues Cup was all here. I think mainly not so much the type of team that we are and what we could accomplish, but it was this. And when I say this is you look at how Seattle played Miami. With literally with the disrespect, and I'm saying disrespect in a nice way, the disrespect and the edge and the huevos they played with since minute one. Messi had no chance. We kind of, again, I felt like we maybe because we are more Latino, because there's more of a Latin flair. We still see them as, there was a video that surfaced of Muriel trying to rushing to Luis Suarez and say, "Hey, exchange my jersey," So you don't see that in Seattle. If anything, you see an Oved Vargas that comes from. It's kind of like Alex Freeman for Orlando. Literally celebrating in front of Suarez and pissing him off, and then he went off. They don't care about Messi, and they made it very clear about that they don't care about Inter Miami. In the case of us, I think for us it was more mental. The whole shebang of Orlando and being shafted, it's completely true. I think everybody saw it. Everybody commented on this already. But instead of kind of pushing us into winning that game against LA, it just plunged us mentally. And then the potential exit, because again, what Oscar said was interesting. The potential exit of this guy right here added to this mentally for the group, it's pretty insane, And so I think mentally, what this has taught us is that, I guess, you know we've already been with these players for I don't know how many years, maybe 2 or 3 seasons now. Maybe it's time for a renovation, but I do feel like we lost this Leagues Cup because of mine, not so much football. If you want to be completely honest, now it worth it? I think now if we sit down, yeah, of course it was not worth it because we didn't get anything out of it. But at the point we were like 40, like not even 48 hours ago, 4 days ago, last week, we were like, oh, we're gonna win it all. We're gonna have the first trophy, right? So we can sit down here and say, was it worth it? Was it not worth it? But I feel like they're gonna treat each individual game as a final, right? And
Yeah.
so,
I
you
mean,
know,
they want to win everything. They want to be in every competition. Yeah. I don't think I'm saying like, was it worth it completely? I think that that's just a question I see some people talking about, and I just felt like, hey, we put a lot of effort to it and came out with nothing, and that just kind of really sucked. Especially the fact that we were, there was 4 teams and 3 of them get a Champions Cup spot, and we weren't one of them. Like that really sucks to come out of it with absolutely nothing, because I feel like we were one of the better teams in the tournament, and if we had got past Miami, we would have been in a final and we would have got a Champions Cup regardless. I totally agree about the mental aspect, Luis. I think that is. I also question, our mental aspect and our ability in big games, and who's stepping up in big games and who's putting the team on their back in big
exactly.
games and getting it over the line. And I think that not only is that a problem for Oscar, but it's a problem for the team as well. That MLS, the Eastern Conference final last year, apart from the Open Cup final in 2022, which and the semifinal, right? That run, those are the biggest games that we've actually won. Then whenever we else we get into big games, like whether it's we feel unjust or not from the refs, we don't do enough, right? Like against Miami, if we'd have done what Seattle did and just pasted them, then it wouldn't have mattered. We left
Exactly,
the
wouldn't
door
matter.
open for the ref to screw us, and he did. And then, that's the same, I would say, in other competitions when we get to like the Open Cup, right? Like it was 3-2. And again, we didn't rotate and we were tired legs and we're out of that one. So I think that adds to this disappointment. I saw Daniel Phillips commenting on that as well. That we're out of Open Cup, so that also added to this sadness of not getting anything out of Leagues Cup, and that's sort of now why I'm like, we've this season, this team is capable of winning something. So really, it's MLS Cup or bust, and that's where we're at now, and hopefully we can do something because it'd be a shame this year to not win anything based on, like we've got literally three of the most successful DPs in the league this year. I don't think we've ever had an Orlando City team that is this complete, Luis, and plays this well in some ways. Like we play some great soccer. So I'm desperate to see this team win something this year.
And not only that, I think we are. I feel like Orlando is as a city in general has a fan base too. And I don't mean that in any disrespect. We're a very roller coaster ride type of fan base.
We're
So
very
when
emotional about it, yeah, for
we're
sure.
very emotional, and I think it translates also to the team. And again, I want to break this down. These are players, a lot of them that come from really small clubs back home. Again, they don't have that exposure of usually winning. Like Schlegel was, I believe, the third string center back for Racing at some point. Then he got for a good performance into the mix with the first team. Angulo's the same thing. Jansen's the same thing. So a lot of them have that similar type of vibe. Now that could bite you if you don't have that edge or that bite on the moments that matter. And I think that has been one of the problems
Yeah, I mean, look
with
look at Seattle, right? They get to those moments and they take it over the line. That's the
yeah,
difference.
yeah. I mean, their soccer culture there has evolved so much through the years because they've won so much, and again they have a system. I mean, they don't have this whole Schmelzer out bull crap every freaking season. You know what I mean? Schmelzer's there now. Schmelzer's probably going to stay 10 more years.
And
You
they
know
play similar to us, man. Like honestly, they
exactly.
they beat
Yeah,
Miami doing the same thing we did,
the same thing we did.
just
Exactly.
better than us. Yeah.
Yeah, they play like Orlando City did on the first two games in the MLS for Miami. We put them against the wall.
Yeah, I
We
mean, that's the
pasted them.
thing. It's not always exciting with Oscar, but like if he got results, like if we won as much as Seattle do with the way they play in Schmetzer, they're not complaining about that. So I think that's the thing. We got to get over the line. And this team can get over the line. I don't want to be too negative on them. And I think that's why it's so frustrating for us because we believe in this team and we believe they
Yeah,
can win a trophy
100%.
this year. So when we lose in the semifinal, which we have done the last two competitions, it's just a bit of a bummer.
Yeah, 100%. And again, there's gonna be players that are gonna come and go. Again, like we can be witnessing, the last few games of, this 6 games coming up. We could be witnessing the last few games of Pedro Galese, of also Cesar Araujo, right? And there's gonna have new players coming in. We can really be having this up and downness. We have to understand how it works. Um, unless you're from the train of thought, let's build a Inter Miami 2.0. Which I feel like for our market, it's not gonna work. And I don't think the Wolves are gonna put the thought and the brains and investing all this money in youth to be an Inter 2.0. You know what I mean? Now, yes, I feel like this upcoming year, and I feel like this is where it's going to be heading at based on some info. Don't ask me where I got this, but I feel like the club is going to open the wallet a little bit more. I have a feeling the club is going to get more, possibly non names, but you know guys that are ready to play. You know, kind of like more Pasalic, in other words. So we may be into also readjusting some
Place in the
contracts
Saudi
and
Pro
things like
League
that.
standing.
So we just gotta. It's six finals moving forward, and I think the boys know that. And per sources, what's being talked in the dressing rooms, they're extremely upset with all of this. Like they feel like they need to now in these six games coming up, like destroy their competition, like literally like make a statement. And so let's see if they can do it. I mean, I have full faith that they can. It's just obviously a bummer to walk out of, like you said, John, out of 2025 with nothing, literally. So go ahead, John. You were playing this video about Ramiro Enrique, which is a good segue. Um,
Yeah, you made a great little short on Ramiro. You want to give everybody the details on his upcoming exit?
yeah. So right now, this was brought in by Cesar Luis Merlo, which is one of the big guys in Argentina and South America, and he kind of knows Ramiro Enrique and all of that, as well. Then Tom Bogart also put it on. Um, then apparently, according to people that live in the internet, they said, "Oh, Merlo edited his tweet. Oh my God, I only trust Buggy, only Tom Buggy." Okay, no problem.
Well, Bogart and Merlo work
My
together, so
my
that's
my bad, guys. My bad.
yeah.
All right.
Literally, Bogart said, "I got this from Merlo." He whenever it's South American stuff, he literally works with him on it.
Yeah. So Merlo put it out, and he said that literally Enrique is going to Al Khulud FC, or in Spanish is Al Culo FC, in a stunning 3 million deal for 3 years. And then Orlando City is also going to get a 10% of a potential future sale of the player. Now, Bogart then said, "Oh no, it's going to be one of the biggest sales the club has made, and top four or whatever. So it's going to be DK, and then Facundo, and then Ramiro, right? So he Tom Bogart saying it's going to be between 4 and 7 million. It could be, all right, but still, we have to pay 40% out of the sale to Banfield, which is Ramiro's former club. So we're gonna get probably around that amount, that 2 to 3 million either way, plus a 10% of a potential future sale. So if Al Khulud, which is in the same ownership group as Cadiz Club de Football, which is Cadiz is a really famous Spanish team in Spain, but plays in second division. If they make it to La Liga, and Orlando could get a 10% if they sell Ramiro to Atletico Madrid or to Valencia, right? So right now, for what I know, this is uh, all parts have agreed verbally, but there's nothing yet tangibly signed. Also, the club has not pronounced and announced it at all. But Ramiro, as you saw, did not travel with LA, and Merlo said that on his tweet that Ramiro did not was not going to play with the Galaxy.
Also, today on his personal social media, he posted a picture of the training ground with a heart. So
Yeah,
I think that's
that's a goodbye.
pretty much Ramiro said his goodbyes. I mean, it's all the writing on the wall, just not official yet, right?
Now, look, the only thing I could put this on is this is a straight up a money driven move on the virtue of Ramiro. When I asked Oscar on the post press conference, because the timing it's pretty bad if you think about it.
The Saudi Pro League window closes on the 23rd of September.
Right.
So they are still open. It, like you said, Luis, obviously his dad was a very famous player. I don't know if his dad is his agent or someone else is his agent,
No, it's
or
somebody else.
it's whoever is in that camp. They might have bigger ambitions for Ramiro. He might have bigger ambitions for himself. Saudi Arabia got a lot of money and they overspend on very average players. Not that I'm saying Ramiro is average, but if you look at what they do in the global transfer market, they go and overspend on players that other big clubs around the world would not spend that kind of money on. They give them a lot of money. So Ramiro would kind of be in that category where he's probably going to get paid significantly more than he would get paid in MLS because of the restrictions, etc. He is at the point where other MLS clubs might make him a DP, and maybe we're just not willing to do that. Remember, his U22 deal is going to expire, so
Yeah.
that's going to have something to do with this. Like up until now, he's been paid partly under the U22 deal, so that's been helping pay for a lot of his wages, but obviously with that expiring and him probably feeling like he might never be that starting striker, like arguably how long has he been here being a rotation guy? All of that, might mean that his agent was looking for a move for him this window, and then the Saudi teams sniffed it out, or maybe he
Yeah.
went and sold him to the Saudi team. We don't know. Who knows? But you know, uh,
So
money
this is
talks. Can you argue with it? Not really. I mean, I don't blame the guy if he wants to go for the money. It just sucks timing for us.
right.
So,
Imagine if you work and you get paid $35,000 a year, and then another company, that in another place that's not the United States offers you triple what you make.
yeah, exactly.
In the end, you have to make the decision,
And
and
you feel like you're not going to get promoted where you are,
now
right?
also he knows that he ain't gonna make it to a Barcelona, to a Atletico Madrid, to a Valencia. So I have a feeling that this was just a move that he wanted to do because he wants to be the king of the castle and not just a featuring,
Yeah, yeah,
in a team. And this allows him not only to make a lot of money, but also allows him to be that lone lion, that
yeah.
that star, in a team.
Mm.
And now you have to understand. I mean, this team, it's I heard is one of the worst teams. Um, they have an 8,000 stadium
Yeah, I
seater.
mean
They don't fill it
The
up.
Saudi league is interesting, right? The way they're run
Yeah.
and owned anyway. So
I mean,
similar to us, right?
yeah, I mean, they don't fill it up.
But they intentionally back some teams more than others.
100%. There's a really big disparity. So you have Al Hilal, Al Nasser, Al Ain, and a couple Al's, four teams, and the rest of them are like,
Yeah, and all the really big players that enter that league play for
correct.
one of those big four clubs usually, not Al Kulito,
Al
Al
Culito.
Al Kulu. I can't even say it
Al
correctly.
Culo?
No, Al Kululuid, Al Kulu.
That's okay.
But I think also there's the potential of a culture shock here. I don't. A lot of the players that go seem to not enjoy that part of it, and then
100%.
immediately leave. Especially some of the Spanish players, or the South American players. So yeah, I mean, it's a big decision. Hopefully, he does well there. I mean, Bogert said that this is going to be what was it, top three
He
within our
says it's going to be the
three
top three
or
sale of Orlando
third
City in,
biggest
in
sale.
history. Yeah.
So that's got to be a significant. I mean, that as much as 3 million is getting bounded around, I think it might be more than that based on that. Um, and
And
then
with
obviously the sell on future fees. So if it goes well there, and then he goes somewhere else, like that's gonna work out for us. Like, what did we pay? Like,
Orlando,
I think 2 mil for him or something. Not that much.
yeah, Orlando makes bank. Or I think we bought him for like less than $2 million. So I mean, Orlando makes bank. If let's say he becomes he's right there in the battle of Golden Boot next year in the Saudi Pro League. Not
Yeah,
only he could be picked up by a top Saudi team like an Al Nasser or an Al Hilal, or even a top J League team in Asia be picked up, because they're gonna be, if Al Khulud does really good, this upcoming season, they could play the Asian Cup or whatever. Again, it's up to him. But what it looks like, it's a money move. There was a rumor by people that have no like name on their accounts and stuff like that, which really they're not trusted sources at all, that he's somehow upset about Messi and all that stuff. That's false. Uh, just because his dad is good friends with the Messi family, just because his dad is a former World Cup champion and Messi's a World Cup champion, doesn't make Ramiro get in a fight with his teammates over Messi. Like,
Yeah.
and Ramiro is been a player that everybody in the group loves him.
Mm.
So that is false. Whoever's saying that, please slap him in the face.
I would say shout out to his agent or his camp or whatever it is that represents him for literally picking the worst possible time to
It is the worst time.
announce like that was why. Like you couldn't wait until this week. Like you couldn't have waited a few more days to, break that news, or maybe it
And
got leaked.
and
Maybe it wasn't supposed to come out,
and
but
and
Merlo got a hold of
Oscar
it.
and Oscar. No, I have a feeling the way Merlo gets his
I
information.
was gonna say I
Yeah.
don't I
So
think
the
that
way
was intentionally
Merlo,
told to
yeah,
him.
the way Merlo gets his information, and just like Bogart, it's the same thing, guys. Sorry to break it down to you. The same way these two guys get their information is because the same, either the club, the agent, or even the player leaks it. So it's not it's all within the family, and they do that on purpose because they
Yeah.
want to cause a commotion. They want to cause an earthquake.
Look at what's happening in Europe right now with these Premier League players who just like, oh, I just won't turn up for a game so I could force a move. Like they're just literally
Like
not
Isaac.
playing games. Yeah, like Isak and Martinez and like all these guys are like, I must make a move. It's the end of the window, and I'm just not going to play for my team so that like they force it. Like it's just breaking your contract is crazy.
Yeah, I asked Oscar. I was like, "Hey, this signing comes in a terrible time right now. Like, do you know anything more about what's happening with Ramiro? Like, can you confirm the rumors, right? Because right now, up to now, until this is not sanctified by the club, it is a rumor. So, um,
Yeah, I mean we're acting like it's happening because all the signs point to it
well, it's
happening.
because two really prominent
Yeah,
journalists
I mean his
have
Instagram.
said it, that have good, trusted, and reliable sources. So it makes sense for us to announce it. But so Oscar said candidly, he's like, "Look, honestly, with this Leagues Cup, I had no chance. No one has told me anything. I don't know, and I wouldn't be right now. I can't respond to you about that. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't really answer about that."
My concern is the goals that we're losing from a backup guy. I mean, I'm not want to say backup is harsh because I mean, this is look at his production. Like the first year wasn't there as much, but look at his production now. I mean, he's got last year he got 12 goals in all competition. This year he's already up to 10 goals in all competitions, 8 in MLS, he got 2 in Open Cup. Um, you know, so that's my thing. Of course, Duncan is back now. There's talk about Justin Ellis getting a deal. Like if this happens with Ramiro sale and they don't sign Justin Ellis to a deal, then something is up with that because
Yeah, someone's
that would
up
be the obvious play.
100%. At that point, you can definitely make the assumption that something's going on. But not only that, but this is an opportunity. And again, when a door closes, another one opens. So if you're listening, Duncan McGuire,
Yeah,
we
big
need to
dunk.
see we need to see the Howland of the Heartland.
Yeah,
Like
I want to see some
we
backflips
we need to see some backflips, bro. Like we need you now have a really big backpack to fill, because Ramiro will come and with fire in his eyes and change the game or tie the game. So I think we need to expect the same from Duncan or whoever's going to be that third striker, which hopefully is Justin Ellis. Yeah.
for
So
sure. But do you want to read some comments, Luis, before we move
sure,
on?
let's read some comments. The Bud FC, congrats Ramiro, says Daniel Phillips. Ramirez's father worked as a coach in that region, and he wants him to play in Europe. Well, I want my daughter to be Wonder Woman, but I don't know how far am I gonna get about that. You know what I mean?
I wanted to win Leagues Cup, but here we are.
I wanted to report for Orlando Magic. I haven't gotten that chance yet. Just can't. The move for Enrique is kind of random in my opinion. Orlando has character. We are passionate. We need to believe in what we are. Orlando 4, Miami 1 show our DNA. If we can grab the cup this year, we will look back and talk about how epic this season has at least had been. We have been scoring like maniacs and periodically crashing out like maniacs too. I agree. In the end, says Keith, Leagues Cup is getting more hyped, and I'm proud. We made it further than the other 26 clubs, but it did have a cost. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Lewis is right about the mental aspect. Spot on. Our team is highly emotional. Also, Landon, honestly, I think it's such bad move for Enrique and Orlando. Well, I mean, for some people, it's the moolah. For some other people,
It's
you
definitely
know,
bad for us right now.
it's definitely bad for us because we lose a really impactful player, in my opinion.
If this was happening in January, I'd be like, great, get some money for Ramiro. Let's shake around our striker pool. But it's just because our window is closed and we literally can't. Like we
Sign
get a free
three.
agent.
Yep. Sign
Where's
three.
Kai Kamara when you need him? I'm just
Let's
kidding. I don't
bring.
want
You know,
Kai
you know who
Kamara.
I
I'm just
saw.
joking. I'm just
We should have
joking.
signed Mihailovic, man. But whatever. That's
Is not
another
a
story.
free agent. They spent like
No, I
8
know, I
million
know,
on
I
him.
know. When he went to Chicago, I think, or whatever. Signed
He
three
went to
years.
Toronto. Yeah.
Yeah. Signed 3 years to play in a country. He can drink alcohol, can wear short shorts in public, can watch dirty movies. He must have gotten a big bag. But there's 2 months left in the season. Surely he gets the same thing in December. All right, Mr. Meme, says Shinta0013. You gotta believe Duncan is hungry. I agree too, hopefully.
Shinta, you an Orlando City fan now? I
There you
think I
go.
think Shinta's coming an Orlando City fan, Luis.
There you go. That's great. We've converted a a prideite to a lion.
It doesn't happen that way very
There you go.
often.
Salty H2O. I don't know if I believe in Duncan anymore. Sadly, he can prove me wrong. Me too, man. I want him to do some backflips. For real, when Enrique would come in the late game, you got excited. That's right. So we need to see that same level of excitement, Keith, when Duncan comes in. Now we need to see old Duncan, the Howland of the Heartland Duncan, the
Ooh,
Duncan that scored so many goals that Europe wanted him.
I do love that Duncan though. He is
I
my
do love that
favorite kind of
Duncan too.
Duncan. So big
Yeah.
dunk. Where's
So
Big Dunk? We need Big Dunk.
yeah, and with that being said, too, when it comes to Orlando City, you now have Luis Muriel as your starting striker. We definitely need Duncan McGuire to start producing some goals. Now, again, it's what's happened in the Leagues Cup is it was just terrible.
Um,
Um,
yeah, it was really bad, man. Like that. I just want to talk about that. I know
yeah, go
it's.
ahead.
I don't want to spend too much time on Inter Miami because they are who they are, but yeah, I mean that was crazy at the end of that game. I think spitting on people, punching people is just not acceptable. I mean this Inter Miami podcast. So I didn't even know this was a podcast until today.
Oh no.
They posted disgusting with this club. Suarez spitting in coach's face tells you everything you need to know. Sell out our academy and bring it. Whoever Messi's dad tells us to. Pathetic excuse for a club in a front office. Fraud manager. We are the joke of the league. No class. At what cost? Question mark. Um, so it's a self-aware Miami fan who understands. Of
Good for
course, they're
him.
summing up a lot of the issues there, but this is a trend we've seen all over
Well, that's
social
not what I
media.
read. That's the
It,
first one I've read that is
that's
like
the
that.
first one you've read, but this is a trend of all the Miami fan. Like they're not calling out everything in their club, but they are calling out their own players. There's no like not even they can excuse the behavior that we saw. I mean, Suarez spitting on somebody, Boosie punching up, and I feel bad for the Seattle players that are just trying to celebrate, and they're the calm, rational ones in this situation. You've got even freaking Messi standing around being like, "I'm sorry, this is happening," like having to apologize on behalf of the rest of his, entourage. It's just wild, man. And I posted something today about the fact that the league MLS should punish them, and of course, there's always the like, oh, what competition was it in? Therefore, they should only be punished by that competition. But there's no, it doesn't matter if you punish them now for Leagues Cup. It's not going to do anything until next year. But if MLS is a serious place, they should seriously say, hey, Luis Suarez is one of our players, regardless of what competition he's in. He shouldn't be spitting in people's faces. That is literally assault. That could be a legal case. He shouldn't be allowed to play right now. Like, I don't know what kind of ban you get for that, but if Jansen gets a red card for merely telling the refs off, how much should Suarez go? And I personally believe it should go over. I think if MLS, honestly, Luis, has any sort of backbone and could look themselves in the mirror at the end of the day and say we didn't sell ourselves out for whoever, they need to be able to actually enforce things like this and say this is not acceptable for our players, because they are MLS players regardless of the competition, to go and do like something like that. I don't know if they will, but for me, it's like, how do you excuse that and just go, oh yeah, let's just return to MLS play after everything that we saw they did post the whistle?
Look, and I've said it in this pod before. Also, look, Miami, they pretty much allowed their DPs to control most of the decisions in that organization, and that doesn't happen at all anywhere else in the MLS. These are players that come to the league and they feel like they're doing us a favor. They come in and they're like, oh, I won a World Cup, I'm a world champion, look at me. And rather than, oh, these are dumb Americans, dumb Americans, give me your money, but I'm not gonna assimilate to the league. I don't give a rat's ass about your stupid MLS. But give me your money, man, because I'm Suarez, because I'm Messi. Give me your money, bro. But I'm not gonna have no respect for Seattle, their culture, their fans. I'm not gonna have any respect for Orlando City, for the fans, for what they stand for. F them. I'm I'm better than that. Messi's bigger than the MLS, right? So that got exposed yesterday. I mean that got exposed, and that's the way they think, and that's exactly what I was telling you guys. That's the way they actually think about the league. They think that they're above everybody. They think they're doing us a favor for helping dumb Americans understand soccer. That's the way they view us, and unfortunately, these are, oh, we're world champions and blah 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 blah. That is what they think. Now, with that being said, um, for me, and I speak as a journalist and as a fan of the MLS, somebody that I in a different language, I talk highly about the league. Inter Miami does not represent, and I keep repeating to myself, does not represent what this league is. Does not whatsoever. And I got my point across yesterday with that side of the South Americans. Now, what Luis Suarez did, like you said, John, it could have been assault if the gentleman from Seattle wanted to go and call the cop, be like, hey, man, hey, bro, he just spit on me. I want to press charges. He will get arrested. And that would have been a huge deal. Now you would have seen like, you would have seen the Miami podcast, instead of having villains right here. Um, Free my boy Lucho. They would have had it on the shirts. Free my boy Lucho. Right? And you would have seen, even probably the president, now that he's talking about soccer. And he has like the Club World Cup trophy he stole from Infantino. Hey, I just want to let you guys know we don't tolerate the spitting. He's gonna get deported, right? So, so it would have been a circus, right? So Suarez needs to greatly thank this guy just got spit on, because he could have gone worse. He could have gotten his club into really worse situation.
Yeah,
Now, I feel he needs to be suspended till the end of the season,
I think so.
and still have maybe a 4 match suspension for the next year,
Yeah.
and a fine.
I
But he,
mean,
he should not be playing in the league at all.
there's 10 regular season games left, right? And then there's the playoffs, and I think the important thing is for me is like there has to be repercussions for that in the carryover. And of course they could just be like say, oh, it's just different competitions. But I think that's a cop out. Honestly, I do. I think that MLS, like as much as I'm saying here, do the right thing. Like other people are saying, oh yeah, they did the right thing when they punished Messi for not attending the All-Star game. That's like nothing to do with this. That's like enforcing the rules of okay, you didn't attend something, so we're going to punish you for not attending. This is do the right thing in terms of like, hey, let's actually set a good example to young children and people everywhere and say we don't, condone this. We don't agree with our athletes doing this, and we will actually punish them if they don't. If MLS doesn't do anything and they're just allowed to continue in league play the rest of the season, yeah, it's a different competition, but what is that saying? What is that saying about, yeah, this is fine for you to do this?
We are we
I
are
don't think so.
we automatically become, sorry for the word I'm gonna say, we become horse. We have no backbone. We bend the rules for certain people, and we live a really bad taste in everyone's mouth. And the really grassroots fandom, places like Orlando,
Yeah.
like Seattle, like Portland,
Yeah.
you know, it's
But
just not the
honestly,
way
if
it
this was
is.
one of our players, I would be saying the same thing. I would still be
Hundred
like,
percent.
hey, they need to be punished for
Yep.
real. Like I would
110%.
feel like it was unjust if our player had done something so bad like that in Leagues Cup that then they were just able to play the next game in MLS. So I just think something has to be done, and Miami showed their ugly side, man. Like we've seen it down here a lot, and the rest of the league might think that we're just whining Orlando sometimes, but I think this week has shown them, really how ugly it can get with these Miami players.
And look, I'm also really I've consumed a lot of unfortunately content from Miami, which I should have not have. But to the fellow podcasters and fellow media people, and you know who you are, please don't be saying, don't say, oh, an action is because of a reaction. I've heard it from Spanish people that cover Inter Miami.
No, no.
I've heard it from some Uruguayan and Argentinian that speak English that from Miami as well. I've watched it from several accounts. These are accounts that have more followers than we do, and unfortunately, you're looking like a fool with your pants on the ground. I mean, this is terrible. Now, also this whole thing about, oh, come at me, bro. I'm I I like to be the NWO of soccer. I want to be the villain. Like, bro, no one's laughing anymore. Like, this is not a meme. This is not something you. This is terrible for soccer. This is terrible for the sport in the states. Like, you're talking about the face of your league hates your league, despises playing in the MLS, and he's here just dumb Americans, literally. Now, I do make a little bit of a research. There's a tweet I did on several instances that spitting became, and some of the fines and some of the lengths of time off of players that have spitted on either referees or other players within the MLS. You can check it out. It's on my X account. But that is in the MLS. That's MLS, what MLS has done. MLS has usually, according to my notes, about two to 2 to 4 match suspension when it's against a ref or staff member, like Hector Herrera spitted a ref, former Houston Dynamo. They suspend him for 4 weeks essentially, 4 games. Now and a fine, undisclosed fine. Now the problem here, digging a little bit deeper, and I didn't have the chance to do another X post, but this happened not in MLS. This happened in Leagues Cup, which is a MLS Liga MX, and it's officiated by CONCACAF. So there was a instance with Clint Dempsey. It was a U.S. Open Cup incident. And in that scenario, they said that it was an act of referee abuse, in which, because of the U.S. Open Cup, the federation had to get involved and the league was obligated to act. But when it comes to the Leagues Cup, it's officiated by CONCACAF. So technically, they can bend the rules and wash themselves clean, putting all the blame on CONCACAF. And the only way I say that they're able to truly do something is within the CBA and MLSPA. There could be some issues there.
Yeah. MLS Players Association should do something, I think. They should file for something.
At that point, crazy. So we're staying tuned on what the MLS is going to do now. There's 2 options here. Or the MLS abides by the rules and shows that they're an entity to be trusted, or they're going to be the fools worldwide by allowing this.
I mean, everybody's saying they're not going to do anything. We've heard nothing on it.
I haven't heard anything on it
so far. I do want to. It's not often that we praise, Kleshin and Weeby and co, but I'm going to play what they said at the end of the game on their thoughts on this, because I think they were actually honest and correct here.
A lot of the headlines tomorrow morning might be about Miami's antics post-game. What did you make of what happened there?
Unacceptable. It's obviously a team that is not used to losing. And I'm going to single out Suarez here, and you see him on camera.
Look at that.
For his wonderful career and everything he's accomplished, the one thing that stains it is the nastiness. He's always biting. He's always fighting. In this moment you're going to see coming up, it looks like he spits. What are you doing? Humble. You're fighting young kids here.
Busquets throwing a punch at Obed Vargas.
What is happening?
I got to give some respect to Obed Vargas right there in that moment, because he has just done his thing on the match. He is feeling himself, and he is not reacting as Suarez is trying to bully him. But the worst moment of all is when Suarez spits at a staff member.
Look at this.
And all these punches that are thrown. It's such a lame way to end a soccer game that you've lost. It is embarrassing, and Suarez will serve a suspension for spitting on somebody.
This is Inter Miami, in my mind, looking in the mirror and not liking what they see.
Yeah.
And that's from a strictly competitive standpoint. They were far below where they would have wanted to be in this final. And not only that, they haven't won anything since the Leagues Cup in 2023. This is a team that's supposed to be winning everything. They've got a supporters shield. Yes, I'm knockout round competition, excuse me. But this is the 6th straight knockout competition where they've failed, and the first time they've reached a final. I just think they looked in the mirror and don't like that they see a loser looking back at them.
This does not bode well for the rest of the season. This could derail any momentum for Miami. That's Sergio Busquets throwing a fist there. Yeah. I've never seen that from a player of his composure throughout his career.
Well, we got to credit Seattle. That's how bad they beat them in this game. And Miami had no moves for Seattle. They couldn't get any change out of this team. So at the end, it builds up. You're frustrated. Now you want to take it out on someone.
Well, they rode their luck. We don't usually see the chances missed that we saw from both Messi and Allende.
Horrible.
This was the moment here. This is just disgusting.
That's hard to explain.
As I mentioned, one of the greatest strikers of all time that so many young children would look up to in Luis Suarez.
I'm embarrassed for Inter Miami players, specifically the older ones that are experienced, but the ones who are running off the bench, Wygant, Aviles coming in throwing punches. Miss me with
I
that.
also feel
Get out of here.
I feel sorry for Obed Vargas. Imagine they're probably his heroes in his face. Yeah. Like, it would be so awkward. How do you even deal with that? You want to be respectful, but you don't want to take any disrespect. Such a horrible position to be in. All he's done is played well and won.
He's got the last laugh.
I think it was really good by them. I think everything they said there, they summed it up perfectly. And sometimes they can hide from stuff, Luis, you know? Sometimes they get in that situation where these guys aren't always, in my opinion, honest on what they want to say. Maybe that's pressures from Apple TV or what, but yeah, I think they did a really good analysis there, and said exactly what we said. It's disgraceful.
Yeah, it's disgraceful. It's disgraceful for the league. Like, believe it or not, in South America, and everybody like, oh my God, Inter did that. I was like, yeah, bro, yeah, they did. You know, and I'll be honest with you, it's just a holier than thou type of situation, and they're superior without really backing it up at all. You know, and I will add, I mean, that's not the way of building a true grassroots movement over there. And I will also add, despicable that these are, represent they represent the Latino culture, if you think about it. You know, Suarez, Aviles, Messi, Busi. These are dudes that are speak Spanish. They represent our culture, and then they come in and they try to bully a 20-year-old just because he wants to celebrate, just because he's just celebrating. He just won a championship, probably his first championship with a team that he's, you know, started in the under 15s. So, you know, it's like people getting like that with Freeman. You know, it's just a terrible look. And I wish I would hear from some content creators from Miami that say, before I start the show, guys, I want to tell you, to all the Seattle fans, I condone the actions of Luis Suarez. I condone the behavior of some of the players. That is not what Miami is. That's not what we represent. As a content creator for Miami that make all these likes and have all these followers, I condone that. If that would have happened in Orlando, that would have been.
I've seen they have been bad, you know, saying it's bad. Like, they have been doing
that. Would have been the first thing I would have said before coming into LPO. I would have talked to John and like, hey, before I come in, I'm going to condone this. I'm just going to let you know. And we would have come out and say, we condone the behavior of such Orlando City player. We do not stand for that. We don't stand for bigotry, for hate, for any of that.
Yeah.
And shame on them. We would have done that. But on my end, I know that you probably heard some, but on my end, some stuff I've read and seen.
Yeah.
From even some of the
Spanish, I don't see that. So
so like, it's been like nothing happened. Like, it's, you know, it's just a scuffle. Like, come on, man.
Luis, you want to read the comments and then we'll talk OCB before we get out of here.
Yeah, it says here, well, actually everyone knows Luis Suarez has a dental condition that causes saliva buildup in his mouth. A little insensitive for you guys to mock his gigantic horse mouth.
His teeth are offside always, bro.
Miss American runs on Duncan. Thank you so much. OC Silence supports this. Does Leagues Cup and losing Enrique send us into a spiral? Hopefully not. Great podcast tonight. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Thank you, buddy. We appreciate that.
Shinta says they're saying he's only getting suspended from Leagues Cup games. Oh, that'd be terrible.
Yeah, that's what Solana's reported, that it's only going to be Leagues Cup.
Oh, that guy? Yo, that guy, hermano, con todo respeto, estás loco, brother. Man, he's crazy, bro. This guy's like, bro.
I think he thinks we're crazy, Luis. So, you know, it's all viewpoints.
Unbelievable, man. I mean, no shame. Like, I will be condoning it. What happened? He's going to be permanently banned from Leagues Cup, and then next year they'll get rid of the Leagues Cup.
Yeah, like literally Boosie's going to retire. So like they're going to be like, we're banning Boosie, and he's like, great, I retire. I don't care.
Bro, ban him from Champions Cup games then. Throwing punches at 20-year-olds and spitting on seniors. Sitch Taylor, Orlando City to next year Cup. That's right. We're going to go to next year's Leagues Cup.
Almost Sitch. That's right, buddy.
Almost Sitch for sure. There you go, man. Let's talk about OCB.
Alrighty, OCB. They managed to get another win while we were all watching Orlando City be, not so good, and then the chaos of Leagues Cup. OCB were sneakily playing a game at home last night, so shout out to everybody who went out for them to see that.
Good job, guys.
I think that was awesome. After going out on Wednesday to Orlando City, I just didn't have the energy on a Sunday night to go watch an OCB game. But they did manage to get the win. It was a cardiac cats ending to this game, Luis. I tell you, they were like the end of the game. Obviously, it was fairly tight. There was a lot of chances. The Crown Legacy, the defense of OCB really holding out well this game. I think the last two games they've done a much better job of being difficult to beat, especially in the last like 10 minutes of this game. There was so many shots. Like Carlos Mercado once again, back in that form of just making multiple saves, made multiple last minute saves at the end of the game. They had a goal that was disallowed in the 90 something minute, called back for offside, and they thought, okay, we won it. And then there was even another chance for Crown Legacy. And then right at the very end of the game, Talas gets the picture off of sort of like a recycled corner that they didn't really clear, and it comes back in. It was epic to see. And then, on the highlights, you can hear the excitement of the crowd.
Yeah, he was crazy.
It was like a real atmosphere for them. Talas has got a few this season. That's another one for him.
Let's bring him to OCSC.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely showing he's got a little bit of talent, and really playing more of that striker role with Justin Ellis kind of doing more of the Ojeda role in behind him in the number 10. Shaq Muhammad played really well. I mean, a lot of the guys played well, but I think the important thing is just they're difficult to beat right now, and that's really what they needed to do. Of course, that is back-to-back wins, having coming back off of a rough few games. They beat Atlanta. We talked about that last pod. Now they got another last-minute winner here and 3 points at home against Crown Legacy, which is massive because they are still in the playoff hunt. But every game right now is huge for them. So OCB, in terms of what they've got left, they're going to play Inter Miami 2 next. But don't worry, because all the baby herons get sold, so it doesn't matter. OCB versus Huntsville. Then they've got Carolina Core and Cincinnati 2. They are 4 games left in the season in a very tight race. So hopefully, Luis, this is going to continue their momentum, and OCB can continue to get good results at the end of the season and go into the playoffs in a good state and in good form. But this was very well done by the boys. They didn't give up. They defended well. And then at the other end, they got their just desserts and a great 1-0 victory with a crazy last-minute winner by Talas.
Yeah, 100%. I think Talas is a player that, comes from Brazil, youth leagues. And I believe that, I'm happy that he's adapting to MLS. And again, if Justin Ellis's contract is not signed, I wouldn't be upset of having either Shaq Muhammad or Talas as options to bring from OCB at this point. I mean, I think Muhammad has done a tremendous season this year as well.
Someone's gonna come up. Hopefully, we'll see.
You're like they're gonna have to do something.
I'm hoping it's Justin Ellis, but we'll see. All right, Luis, that's everything we've got time for today's show. We will be right back soon with the Pride Pod. So after this ends, come join us for the Pride Pod. They are going to play in Champions Cup tomorrow. So we got Champions League to talk about for Pride. It's really exciting. Luis, run us through the socials and we'll get out of here.
Yeah, for sure. We are on Apple Podcasts, also on Spotify, on audio form and video form. Also on X, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram as LP_podcast, Loud and Proud Orlando. Just I want to give a little update. We right now, and I want to thank you guys, everybody that's listening or watching. When it comes to LPO, more than likely our handle on YouTube may be changing soon to something that will mimic LP_podcast. I realize that we have a different handle on YouTube. So
well, it's just our full name.
yeah,
Really,
so so if you search it for LPO podcast or Latin Parlando, we're gonna show up no matter what. But for everybody that's listening, thank you so much for your kind support. The last 2 episodes for LPO have been tremendous. We had like over 100 downloads on a couple of episodes. So
getting a lot
thank
of
you.
those messy hate watchers. Thank you.
Correct. Thank you for all the hate, all the messy fans, and also for the Pride Pod. Right now, we are this season. We're on our third season, and this episode will be our 43rd episode of LPO. So
We don't really
43.
count like that. I don't know.
Yeah. So
I
I
see
do
other
want to
pods
say,
like shout out to the mainland, got to 500.
yeah. So
I don't know what we're at.
yeah, I mean, yeah. So I'm gonna be doing the count at the end of the year. We'll see. So far, we're in the third season. So season 3, episode 43 will be this one. So thank you guys for your support, and for everybody you're listening to tremendously. Stitch Taylor also says here, we're going to the CONCACAF Champions Cup, yes or no? We're gonna have John decide if.
Well, the literally right now you can watch the Pride Pod Sitch, and they're in the Champions Cup. So
there you go.
that's one.
Read.
Maybe Orlando City will get a Champions Cup, but not of yesterday. We're not. No.
There's another W pot says F. Thank you. Pretty sure the team can only make CONCACAF by winning MLS Cup now. There you go.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's
F.
Correct. Or maybe in like rankings if you came high enough. There's like a lot of stipulations. I want to say obviously there's no game this week. We're an international break. Alex Freeman got a call up, so he's away. Marco Pasalic is away. Pedro is away.
Pedro.
I believe that's it. Am I missing anybody else?
Yeah, Pedro's flying from Orlando to Uruguay. He's going to meet the team there. The team's already in Uruguay, and the Peruvian national team. Same with Marco. Marco's probably on his way to Croatia right now.
Yeah, so that's obviously why we're not previewing a game. We'll be back next Monday to preview our DC United game, and we'll look at all the internationals and what happened with that and everything else. So thank you all for being here. Vamos Orlando!
Vamos Orlando! Have a good one, guys. Thank you for your support.